Most DFS players will spend a ton of time thinking about every little detail in their lineups instead of focusing on the one thing that makes the biggest difference to your DFS profits when you get it right. My name is Jordan Chan. I'm the head coach here at SaberSim, and in this video, I'm going to be giving you the 5 contest selection rules you need to maximize your DFS profits. Let's go ahead and just jump right in. Now, we're all out there trying to do the same thing with our contest selection strategies. We want to make as much money as possible with the bankroll that we have. The problem here is most of the other strategies that are out there are either outdated or just straight up wrong. And this includes things like playing single entry and 3 max contests only, maximizing the average top 1% payout of a contest, or the old school 80% cash, 20% GPP framework. The risk of getting this stuff wrong is real, and we ran contest simulations that can prove it. In this example, we've got a single entry only player with an $840 bankroll, and this player has an 11% ROI over the long term, so they're a good, profitable player. But playing the single entry only contests over the course of a baseball season, 51% of the time they have a losing season, and 28% of the time they go completely bust just because they're playing contests that are too risky. Another way of looking at some of the data from our contest simulations is how much money you need to play a certain amount of action per night. If you're playing single entries only or heavily focusing on those kinds of contests and playing $100 a night, you need a $5,000 bankroll to reduce your risk of ruin over the course of a season to 0. If you're playing a ton of MME larger field contests, you need a $3,500 bankroll to play $100 a night and reduce that risk of ruin to 0. Finding the perfect balance of your contest portfolio, which I'll talk more about here in just a second, means that you only need a $2,200 bankroll to play $100 a night and have 0% chance of going broke, which is exactly why this framework works so well. The fundamental problem with these other contest selection frameworks is they don't focus on the most important thing, which is variance. You need to survive long enough so that you can actually give yourself time to realize your profits. This is the easiest way to start making more money playing DFS. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hop over to the DraftKings lobby for the NFL Sunday main slate, walk through how I actually go through and select my contests each week, and give you my 5 rules to success. And don't worry, at the end, I'll give you a cheat sheet that summarizes everything we've covered, so you can always go back to that if you need a quick review. Now, the first rule to maximize your DFS profits is to use smart bankroll management principles. And the first thing you need to do here is establish a bankroll. How much are you comfortable allocating to DFS? The second rule is to figure out how much you are comfortable using per slate. And our contest simulations say that the optimal amount of your bankroll to use per slate is around 2.5% to 5% of your total bankroll. But you should adjust this based on how much time you have to commit to building your lineups and how much skill you have in that particular sport. For this particular example, I'm working as if I have a bankroll of $3,000 and I'm going to play 5% of my bankroll into this slate. That's because I have a lot of time to commit to building my lineups on Sunday morning, and I've been playing NFL DFS for a long time, and it's one of my better sports. That means I'm going to have $150 total to commit to this particular slate. Rule number 2 is that we're going to play GPPs only. Now, that may come as a surprise to some people, but our goal here is to maximize our profit, and that means getting up against the softest competition as possible in our contests. The DFS industry has come a long way since its early days in 2014, 15, and 16, and cash games have gotten a lot harder. The softest competition is in GPPs, so that's where we're going to focus our efforts. What I like to do is make sure that I've selected the classic game type, the slate that I'm choosing, which in this case is the NFL Sunday main slate, and look at tournaments with guaranteed prize pools only to make sure that I'm targeting just those GPPs. Rule number 3 is avoid sharks. Now, most people don't know this, but DraftKings doesn't allow the highest volume players to play any contests that have an entry fee lower than $3, and they're also not allowed to play any contests with an entry fee less than $5 if the total prize pool is less than $25,000. FanDuel has a similar rule where the highest volume players just aren't allowed to access the under $3 entry fees contests overall. We've already made sure that we're playing against softer opponents by playing on GPPs only, but we can go one step further by focusing and getting as many lineups into contests that are at those lower entry fees as possible to avoid playing the best players in the lobby. The way I like to do that is to set the maximum entry fee as a starting point to $3, but even to go one step further and to actually fill my contests with the lowest entry fee first, so that I know I'm getting as many lineups in play against those weaker opponents as possible before I jump up to the higher stakes. Now we're going to actually enter some contests, and this is the fun part. Rule number 4 is to think about your contests as a portfolio, which means separating your contests into 2 different buckets. We like to call them elevators and diversifiers. Elevators are going to be your single entry and 3 max contests that elevate your ROI because you're playing against softer competition, but those contests are also going to have higher variance because you're only getting to play a handful of lineups per contest. Diversifiers are going to be your 20 max and 150 max contests, where you can get a lot of unique lineups in play, generally very cheaply, which diversifies your portfolio and smooths out your variance. The reason why it's important to think about these as a portfolio is because we want to strike the right balance here. And what we found in our contest simulations is to play 50 to 75% of your daily wager for that day into diversifiers, and the remaining 25 to 50% of your daily wager share in that day into elevators. So let's talk about the way that I actually do this. So we're playing GPPs only, and we're focusing on contests where we're not going to play sharks. And I'm going to fill my diversifier contests first, which mean my 20 max and 150 maxes. I've already established I'm playing $150 on this slate, so the first thing I'm going to do is fill my diversifiers. And to get to about 75% of my daily wager in diversifiers, I need about $110 in those kinds of contests. So I'm going to find the cheapest 20 max I can find, which right here is the dime package, and enter that first. For the very first lineup I have to enter, I actually have to put a real dummy lineup in here, so I'm going to quickly do that, and then we'll go ahead and just bulk enter this lineup into other contests. Once we're entered, we can use the bulk enter tool to continue going here. First thing, I'm going to go ahead and just select tournaments again and make sure I'm focusing on contests under $3 first, lowest entry fee to highest. One other thing to note here is, since these contests are literally free, I'm going to just go ahead and enter those as well to get more unique lineups in play. Then I'm going to play 19 lineups in the dime package. I'm going to skip some of these cheaper GPPs. A general rule of thumb I use is I don't want to play a contest if the prize to first isn't at least what I'm playing in total on that slate. So anything under $150 to first just isn't going to get my attention here. I'll keep scrolling down. We're going to continue to skip satellites as we're focusing on GPPs only. And that brings us to our next diversifier contest, which is the quarter jukebox. We'll play 20 entries in that contest as well. We'll continue moving forward, again, skipping satellites and contests with very small prize pools here. Again, focusing on GPPs, not winner-take-alls here, until we get to the next diversifier contest, which is the mini-max. In this case, I'm going to play 150 lineups here, which is going to bring me to $82. I'm looking to get to 110 in diversifiers. From there, the next diversifier contest is the first down, so I'll play 20 lineups into the first down and continue looking for the next diversifier, which is going to be the $2 safety. In this case, I'm getting pretty close to about that $110 point here, so I'll probably just play an additional 5 lineups into this contest, and that's my diversifiers here for this slate. Now I'm focusing on getting into my elevator contests, which again are going to be single entry and 3 max contests. So let's go back up to the top. One little trick you can use here is actually just to search for single entry, which will show you all of the single entries. So I can quickly just go ahead and add these contests to my pool. And then also my 3 entry maxes. And I still need to get a little bit more action down on the slate to get up to 150. At this point, I have to make that jump up above the $3 threshold and start playing some higher dollar contests. But I'm going to continue to try to focus on contests under $25,000 of a total prize pool where possible, so I can still make sure I'm not getting into contests with the sharks. Unfortunately, there aren't any contests that are below $5 with under a $25,000 total prize pool for my elevators here. So I'm going to just go ahead and continue to fill out the rest of my allocation for this slate. Again, focusing on getting as many unique lineups in play as possible by filling lowest to highest total entry fee. I'm now at $150 total, which is my allocation for the slate, and I'm going to go ahead and click submit. Now, last but not least, rule number 5, which is an important one. And this rule is to play a unique lineup into every single entry you've just entered. Again, we've crafted a contest portfolio here that is intended to maximize your profit and minimize your risk. And part of that is playing a unique lineup into every single one of these entries that we filled out. Now, I know that means that for some of you, that might be a bit scary because your highest scoring lineup could end up in one of your lower dollar entries. But that can happen no matter how you're selecting contests in DFS. And this strategy is proven to maximize your profits while minimizing your risk. Now, I know I promised you guys a cheat sheet, so let's go through with a quick summary of these rules. Rule number 1, use smart bankroll management principles, and that starts with establishing a bankroll, how much you are comfortable contributing to DFS, and 2, establish what your daily wager percent is going to be. We recommend being between 2.5% and 5% here, but you should adjust that based on how much time you have to commit to building your lineups and how much skill you have in that sport. Rule number 2 is play GPPs only. Cash contests are too sharp in 2022, so we're going to focus on playing softer competition in those GPPs. Rule number 3 is avoid sharks where you can. This means playing as many lineups as possible under the $3 entry fee where sharks can't even enter. And once you have to get above that, focusing on contests that are under $5 entry fees with less than a $25,000 prize pool where possible before making the jump to the higher dollar entry fees if you still need to get more action down. Rule number 4 is to separate your diversifiers and elevator contests in your contest portfolio. Remember, diversifiers are the 20 and 150 max contests, and elevators are those single entry and 3 max contests. And we're looking for about 50 to 75% of our daily wager to go to diversifiers, and the remaining 25 to 50% to go to those elevator contests. This is a really big, important part of the framework here, and this is what's really going to help give you that nice balance of risk versus upside in your portfolio. And rule number 5 is to play a unique lineup into every entry. It's a key part of thinking about your contest as a portfolio, so don't get cute. Play a unique lineup into every entry. I hope this was a helpful overview of how you can start making more money playing DFS today. If you have any other questions for us, feel free to email at support@sabersim.com. And in the meantime, thank you and good luck.